Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa has today expressed concern about poor audit outcomes for the country's municipalities.
He says year after year, only a few receive clean audits, despite many relying on consultants to compile their annual financial statements.
He was speaking earlier, calling for inclusive reform at the councils.
Year after year, the audit outcomes show that few municipalities get a clean bill. There is a heavy reliance on consultants when it comes to the compilation of the annual financial statements, yet many municipalities end up with bad results on audit outcome to an extent of disclaimers and adverse outcomes. A number of municipalities constantly fail to spend MIC and other grants allocation. Some of our municipalities are not viable as they have no revenue base for collection. As a result, they are classified as distressed, and some of them are literally bankrupt. Sometimes they are unable to pay salaries or the third parties for pensions and medical aids. Challenges facing our municipalities are historical. Some are structural and some are systematic. The geographical locations and the funding model are at the heart of the challenges in most of our municipalities. That is why our engagement throughout the process of review, one size fits all, will not be a solution.
All right, so let's stay with the story and speak to SABC News senior politics reporter Samgela Masego, who was covering this particular event and joins us live now. Samgela, of course, a dialogue that many are hoping could lead to some tangible outcomes. But when you look at what the minister said in his address, and I quote, "Local government is where policies become services, promises become infrastructure, and governance becomes tangible." Yet, when you look at the state of some of the municipalities, residents are experiencing the worst.
Indeed, Bongiwa, the minister was very clear that the state of municipalities across the country is really deplorable and that much more needs to be done in order to fix the state of South African municipalities, but also focusing on the funding model of these particular municipalities, saying that this model is no longer sustainable, where 90% of the revenue of the municipalities that they have is supposed to be generated through rates and taxes. That is not happening because very fewer people are actually able to pay their rates and taxes to these particular municipalities. A lot of businesses are owing these particular municipalities instead of paying for the services that they enjoy from these particular municipalities. The state of infrastructure is decaying rapidly, and 10% of the other portion of the funding of these municipalities is meant to come from grants from provincial and national government, and that needs to also be re-looked at, and also the remuneration of councillors, as well as many councillors in the country are paid so badly that they are unable to clearly focus on their elected responsibilities as members of these particular councils. The Auditor General was also very clear that those whom are deployed in municipalities are not doing their work properly, and that professionalization of municipalities needs to be prioritized, and that the speakers of municipalities need to understand their role in the formulation of integrated development plans, IDPs. Going further to say that mayors must also be able to read a balance sheet of their municipalities as they are administering billions of rands of budgets of these particular municipalities, taking into existence the metro municipalities of Tshwane, Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, Mangaung, and all other metros, Buffalo City, eThekwini municipality as well.
And Samgele, you know, we speak about, of course, the funding model. It's been under scrutiny for some time now, but also I suppose at the same time, these are some of the municipalities that are coming under scrutiny given the natural disasters that they're experiencing and not having been able to respond adequately.
Indeed, Bongiwe, the issue of particular disaster management systems or disaster management departments within this particular municipality is a very funny issue when it comes to the Department of Cooperative and Traditional Affairs. We look at the disasters that take place in provinces such as KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, that are disaster prone now, and the Free State Province at times. These are some of the provinces and the municipalities that Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa says a clear focus needs to be put on them, that you need to have clear systems, clear bureaucrats in place who will be able to deal with the disaster management of these particular municipalities once these natural disasters strike. As you do know, the SABC is a disaster-prone country now, particularly stating and looking at the disaster that has been caused within the recent floods and heavy rains in KwaZulu-Natal and in particularly in the Oratambo district municipality of the Eastern Cape, saying that a clear plan needs to be put in place when you look at the restructuring of these particular local governments across the country. But what is very clear is that in order to achieve all of this, the funding model needs to be receptive and responsive to the changing geopolitical but also weather systems of the world, and in particular South Africa. And that is a very hearty issue to Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa when he says that if you don't get the funding model right, you will not be able to fix municipalities. He goes on further to speak about how he will start now picking a fight with various municipalities to say that you can't have unfunded projects that you are approving as councils. You go further to Tembika Dimeng was speaking on behalf of the ANC, saying that you need to reduce the power of these councils, because councils are the ones at times who are delinquent in how they deal with the specific issues of municipalities. Many of the councillors who sit at MPAC are unable to read balance sheets, have no understanding of supply chain processes, and they are then dribbled by officials who sit in offices, your CFOs, your municipal managers, your heads of procurement, and then that is where you lose the professionalization of the state, because those who are charged with undertaking the responsibility of administering these municipalities as bureaucrats are then befallen to political figureheads, a person who's very junior in the municipality but very senior politically within his political organization, and micromanages these particular officials. And that is where you get it all wrong within the local government sphere. And in the main, Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa says these unfunded projects are the biggest problem when it comes to revenue generation of municipalities, who in turn don't get positive results when it comes to the work and the audits of the Auditor General, who spoke very passionately about how speakers of municipalities don't even know what it undertakes to craft an integrated development plan, an IDP, and saying that there's a lot of cut and paste that is going on, and that consultants are milking municipalities dry with crafting these IDPs that don't make sense, and mayors who can't even read balance sheets and don't know how to administer a 60 billion rand municipality that you've seen in the past with the decaying municipalities such as eThekwini, Johannesburg, Tshwane, which you've now had to effectively try and clean up. But the rot is just too deep, particularly with the lack of understanding of the municipal financial, with the FMA, that is currently the Municipal Financial Management Act, that many councillors don't even know what that is and can't even read some of the statutes that they are meant to administer.
And it speaks to the structural issues, Samgele, that are always being touted about to try and deal with the issues there, because in some instances you're even seeing councils that are not even able to pass budgets, and one wonders, do they even understand what should be contained in that budget, or even the implications thereof? But Samgele, thank you so much for giving us a sense of how the developments went there as far as this review of the white paper is concerned. That was my colleague, the SABC News senior politics reporter, Samgele Maseko.